Here is a truth that will feel like it's been installed backwards. The harder you try to get the thing you want, the more efficiently you push it away from you. And I know that sounds wrong. Everything you've ever been told about success, about achievement, about making your life work, has been built on the idea that effort is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. More hours, more discipline, more grinding, more forcing yourself through walls until something finally breaks open. But what if the wall you keep throwing yourself against isn't between you and your goal? What if it is your trying? What if the very intensity of your effort is the thing constructing the barrier, brick by brick, with every desperate push? This is what philosophers and thinkers across centuries have called the backwards law. And once you truly understand it, you will never look at effort, struggle, or achievement the same way again. Let's start with something you already know, but have never examined closely. Think about a night when you absolutely needed to fall asleep. Maybe you had an important meeting the next morning, a flight to catch, an exam that would shape your future. You lay in bed and you commanded yourself to sleep. You squeezed your eyes shut. You counted backwards. You flipped your pillow to the cool side. And every single thing you did to force sleep made you more awake, more alert, more painfully conscious of the minutes ticking past on the clock beside your bed. Now think about the opposite. Think about a lazy Sunday afternoon when you had nothing to do, nowhere to be, and no reason to sleep at all. You sat on the couch, you opened a book, and before you finished the second page, you were gone, effortlessly, without a single instruction to your body. Sleep arrived precisely because you were not chasing it. This is not a coincidence. This is a law, and it governs far more of your life than you realize. The backwards law, articulated most clearly by the philosopher Alan Watts, describes a fundamental paradox of human experience. The desire for a positive experience is itself a negative experience, and the acceptance of a negative experience is itself a positive experience. Read that again slowly, because inside that single idea is the key to nearly every area where you currently feel stuck. When you desperately want to feel confident, you are broadcasting to every cell in your body the message that you are not confident right now. The wanting is the declaration of absence. When you try hard to be happy, you are reinforcing the premise that happiness is not your natural state, that it must be chased and captured like something wild and reluctant. Your effort to feel good becomes a constant reminder that you don't feel good. The trying is the suffering. Now let's go deeper into why this happens. Because it is not enough to know that forcing doesn't work. You need to understand the mechanism, the engine running beneath the surface, so you can actually stop feeding it. Here is what most people never consider. Every act of intense trying contains within it a hidden instruction, and that instruction is not what you think it is. When you try hard to make money, the surface message is, I want wealth. But the deeper signal, the one your subconscious mind and your entire nervous system actually registers is, I do not have enough. When you try desperately to find love, you believe you are signaling openness and desire. But the real broadcast, the one that shapes your energy, your body language, your decisions, and ultimately your reality is, I am alone, and that is unbearable. Your trying is an announcement of your lack. Every time. Think of it like gripping sand. You reach down to the beach and you grab a fistful. If you hold it gently, with an open, relaxed hand, the sand stays. It rests in your palm, stable, present, yours. But the moment you squeeze, the moment you clench your fist with that desperate need to hold onto it, the sand begins to pour out through the gaps between your fingers. The harder you grip, the faster it escapes. Your force is the very thing that creates the loss. This is not a poetic metaphor. This is a description of how your relationship with outcomes actually functions. The tightness of your grip determines whether things stay or leave. Now let's examine where this pattern of desperate trying actually comes from. Because you were not born this way. A child does not try hard to play. A child does not strategize about how to be curious. They simply are. The effortless state is your original programming. So what happened? What happened is that somewhere along the way, you absorbed a belief so deeply that it became invisible to you. The belief is this: you are not enough as you are, and therefore you must earn your right to have the things you want. This belief is the soil in which all desperate effort grows. It is the unexamined assumption beneath every exhausting hustle, every anxious, sleepless night, every moment where you pushed yourself past your limits, not out of inspiration, but out of fear. Society reinforced this relentlessly. You were graded. You were ranked. You were told that rest was laziness and that your worth was measured by your output. The message was consistent and clear. You must prove yourself. You must work harder than the person next to you. You must show the world that you deserve what you have. And if you don't have it yet, it is because you have not tried hard enough. And so you internalized a framework where effort equals worthiness, where struggle is noble, where the person who suffers the most on the path to their goal somehow deserves it more than the person who arrived with ease and lightness. You began to distrust ease. You became suspicious of flow. If something came to you without a fight, you questioned whether it was real, whether you truly earned it, whether it would last. This is the trap. You have been conditioned to believe that the struggle itself is proof that you're on the right path, when in reality the struggle is often proof that you have drifted off it entirely. Let me be very clear about something here, because this is where most people misunderstand this principle and dismiss it entirely. The backwards law is not telling you to stop taking action. It is not an invitation to sit on your couch and wait for the universe to deliver a suitcase of cash to your doorstep. That is not what this is about. The distinction is between forced action and aligned action, and the difference between them changes everything. Forced action comes from fear. It is driven by the belief that if you stop pushing, everything will collapse. It feels tight in your chest. It makes your jaw clench. It keeps you working late, not because you are inspired, but because you are terrified of what happens if you don't. Forced action is the entrepreneur who checks their revenue dashboard 14 times a day. It is the job seeker who sends out 100 identical applications with a rising sense of panic. It is the person in a relationship who monitors their partner's every word and mood, searching for evidence that things are falling apart. Aligned action feels completely different. It comes from a place of inner steadiness rather than inner chaos. It is the entrepreneur who builds their product because the work itself is meaningful and then trusts the process without white-knuckling every metric. It is the job seeker who puts genuine care into each application because they know their value and believe the right fit will recognize it. It is the person in a relationship who gives love freely because their sense of self does not depend on whether it is returned in equal measure every single day. The external actions might sometimes look similar, but the internal state behind them is opposite. And it is the internal state, not the action itself, that determines what kind of results flow back to you. Action taken from wholeness creates whole results. Action taken from desperation creates more situations that feel desperate. So how do you actually make this shift? How do you stop the pattern of trying harder when trying harder is the only tool you've ever known? The first step is one of the most uncomfortable things you will ever do. You must learn to be still in the presence of what you want and not reach for it. This sounds simple. It is not. It requires a rewiring of your deepest instincts. When you see the thing you desire, every part of you screams to lunge forward, to grab, to secure, to make sure it doesn't slip away. Learning to remain calm in the presence of your desire, to feel the wanting without letting it control your actions, is the foundational skill of the backwards law. Start with something small. The next time you feel the urgent impulse to check your phone for a notification you're waiting on, pause. Don't check it. Sit with the discomfort of not knowing. Notice how your body reacts. Notice the anxiety, the restlessness, the almost physical need to reach for it. That feeling, that desperate pull, is the exact same energy that operates in every area of your life where you feel stuck. You are simply seeing it in miniature. And in that small moment of pause, you are practicing the art of non-grasping. You are teaching your nervous system that you can want something and not be controlled by the wanting. The second practice is learning to find fullness in your present moment, even when your present moment is not what you ordered. This is not about pretending to enjoy suffering. It is about recognizing that your present moment always contains something real and good if you are willing to look for it. The warmth of sunlight on your arm, the taste of your morning coffee, the sound of someone you love laughing in another room. These are not consolation prizes. These are life itself, happening right now, while you are busy aching for something that hasn't arrived yet. When you practice gratitude for what is here, something subtle but profound shifts in your energy. You move from the frequency of not enough to the frequency of this is good and more good is welcome. This is not a trick you play on yourself. It is a genuine recognition that your life, right now, today, imperfect and incomplete as it may feel, is already filled with things that another version of you once desperately wished for. There was a time when your current life was the dream. You have simply forgotten, because you arrived here and immediately started reaching for the next thing. The third tool is what you might call the practice of light holding. You keep your goals, you keep your visions, you keep your ambitions, but you hold them the way you would hold a butterfly that landed on your open hand, with wonder, with appreciation, without closing your fingers around it. You let your desire exist without making it a condition for your happiness. You say to yourself, I would love for this to happen, and I will be okay if the path looks different than I expect. This is not resignation. It is freedom. It is the removal of the desperate energy that has been repelling your goal from the very beginning. There is a quiet confidence in someone who wants something, but does not need it to feel whole. You have met people like this. They walk into a room, and they are not performing. They are not trying to impress anyone. They are not scanning for approval or measuring themselves against others. They are simply present, settled in themselves, comfortable in their own skin. And paradoxically, they are magnetic. People are drawn to them. Opportunities seem to find them. Life appears to cooperate with them in ways that look like luck, but are actually the natural result of an internal state that is not pushing, grasping, or forcing anything. That is the state you are moving toward, not through more effort, but through the willingness to release the effort that has been exhausting you and blocking you simultaneously. I want to leave you with a final image. Picture a river. The river is flowing toward the ocean. It does not try to reach the ocean. It does not strain or strategize or worry about whether it will arrive. It simply moves in the direction that is natural, following the path of least resistance, guided by gravity and the shape of the land. When it meets a rock, it does not stop and fight the rock. It flows around it, effortlessly, without resentment, without losing a single drop of its momentum. You are that river. Your goals, your dreams, the life you were meant to live, that is the ocean, and you will reach it. Not by trying harder, not by gripping tighter, not by fighting every rock in your path until your knuckles are bloody and your spirit is exhausted. You will reach it by remembering what you already are, by letting go of the belief that you must struggle to be worthy, by allowing yourself to flow in the direction of your deepest truth with a calm, steady, unhurried certainty that what is meant for you is already on its way. The great cosmic joke is that you have been blocking your own door this entire time. You have been standing in your own doorway, pushing against it with all your might, wondering why it won't open. And all along, the door opened inward. Stop pushing, step back, and watch what happens when you finally let it swing open on its own.